Welcome to Julia for Talented Amateurs, where I make wholesome Julia tutorials for talented amateurs everywhere. I am your host, the Dabbling Doggo.
I dabble.
Last week, we learned how to use glmaki to animate data. Not only did it prove to be a valuable tool to extract new insights for our analysis, it also allowed us to improve our communication skills by allowing us to tell stories with our data. Today, we're going back to our roots to explore one last module included in Julia's standard library, dates. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be familiar with Julia's time type and know how to construct your own dates and times, both by using Julia Base as well as by using the DataFrames package. Before we get started, we need to update to the latest version of Julia. On March 24th, Julia released version 1.6.0. This is the first major update since I started my YouTube channel back in September 2020. Updating Julia on your machine is easy, so everyone should do it. Go to julialing.org, click on the green Download version 1.6.0 button. Select your operating system and download the installer. I'm on a Windows PC, so I'm selecting the 64-bit installer for Windows. If you're using Google Chrome, you can click on the downloaded file in the lower left corner of the browser to execute the installer. Otherwise, your downloaded file should be in the default download folder on your machine. In the Select Installation Directory dialog box, click Next. In the Select Additional Tools dialog box, click Next. Once Julia has successfully installed, click Finish. You should see a new desktop shortcut icon for Julia version 1.6.0. Double-click on it to open the REPL. Right-click on the top bar and select Properties from the menu. On the Options tab, select the large cursor size. In the Font tab, select a font size of 28. Click OK to close the Properties box. These are my settings. You can, of course, select any options that you like. In the REPL, type in println hello world. Type in 1 plus 1. Type in exit to exit the REPL. Open VS Code. Click in the terminal panel and hold down the Alt key and then hit J then O to start the REPL. VS Code should automatically detect the latest version of Julia. Close VS Code. Delete the shortcut icon for the older version of Julia and refresh your desktop. And that's it! You are now running Julia version 1.6.0. Now, let's set up our programming environment for today's tutorial. Open VS Code and maximize the terminal panel. Start the REPL by holding down the Alt key and then hitting J, then O. Make a new directory called tutorial02/12 by using the make directory function. Change your present working directory to your new directory by using the change directory function. Enter the package REPL by hitting the closing bracket. Activate your new directory by typing in activate space period and then hit enter. Add the following packages and versions. Type in status to confirm that the correct packages and versions have been added. Exit the package REPL by hitting backspace. Minimize the REPL. Create a new file by going to File, New File. Save the file as tutorial02/12.jl by going to File, Save As. Be sure to save your file to your new directory. I'm going to add a header to my file, but there's no need for you to type this in. You can access the source code to this tutorial in my GitHub Repository. The link is in the description below. I have saved the subject of dates and time for the end of this tutorial series. Not because this is the most difficult subject, but because for me, this is the least intuitive of all of the Julia data types. Hopefully, this is a personal problem, and it will be easier for you to understand. Julia follows the ISO 8601 standard for dates and time. Under this standard, dates are expressed as year, month, then day, with hyphens as the delimiter. Years are expressed using 4 digits ranging from 0000 to 9999. The month and the day are expressed using 2 digits ranging from 01 to 12 for months, and from 01 to 31 for days. The first day of the week is Monday. Time is expressed as hour, minute, then second, with colons as the delimiter. The hour is expressed using 2 digits from a 24-hour clock, ranging from 00 to 23, where 00 is midnight and 12 is noon. The minute is expressed using 2 digits, ranging from 00 to 59. Likewise, the second is expressed using 2 digits ranging from 00 to 59, but using 60 for leap seconds. Midnight may only be expressed as 00:00 and never as 24:00. Date time is expressed as a combination of date and time with an uppercase T as the delimiter. In this global economy, it makes sense to have a common standard for expressing date and time. But in the real world, different countries use different formats. In the US, we use month, day, then year for dates, and we express time using a 12-hour clock along with AM for daytime hours and PM for evening hours. The majority of the rest of the world uses day, month, then year for dates and uses a 24-hour clock to express time. Confused? Not only are different conventions in use, there are also different delimiters in use as well. For example, you may see year, month, and day separated by a hyphen, a forward slash, a period, or a blank space. If you're downloading data off the internet, chances are that you will come across different formats for dates and time, so you will need to know how to parse that data in a way that Julia can understand it. Let's find out how Julia handles dates and times. The Dates module is part of Julia's standard library, so you don't need to add it as a separate package. The Dates module provides a new data type called a time type, which includes a type called date, which is expressed in days, and a type called datetime, which is expressed in milliseconds, which is 1,000th of a second, and a type called time, which is expressed in nanoseconds, which is 1,000,000,000th of a second. You can construct each of these time types manually by using the date, datetime, and time constructors. Maximize the REPL. When constructing dates, enter in year, month, then day, separated by commas. Notice that it's of type date. Constructing a datetime is the same as constructing a date, but including the time using hour, minute, and second separated by commas. Note that the date and the time are separated with an uppercase T, and the hour used is a 24-hour clock. Note that this is of type datetime. When using the time constructor, you can enter in the hour, minute, and second as integers separated by a comma, like you did with the datetime constructor. As an alternative, you can enter in the hour, minute, and second as a string, separated with colons. Notice that this is of type time. Take a look at the workspace panel and expand the 3 time types. Note that date has a value with a unit day, and that datetime has a value with a unit millisecond, and that time has a value with a unit nanosecond. So that wasn't too bad. It's relatively easy to construct your own dates, date times, and times. But the problem is that in many cases, you're not going to construct your own dates and times. You're going to be downloading them as part of a dataset, and the dates and times will be in different formats. Let's take a look at an example of how to parse different date formats into something that Julia can understand. In the interest of time, I have prepared a CSV file containing various formats for dates that are commonly used. You can download the CSV file from my GitHub repository. Go to github.com and search for Julia4TA/tutorials. Click on the link to go to my repository. Click on the Series 02 folder. Click on the Files folder. Click on the dates.csv file. Right-click on the Raw button. From the menu, select Save Link As. Save the CSV file to your Tutorial 02x12 folder. In VS Code, open the Explorer panel and click on the CSV file. As you can see, it's just a list of various formats for the release date for Julia version 1.6.0. Let's load this data into a data frame, not because we need to, but in order to demonstrate how to parse various date formats when using DataFrames. There are a couple of things to point out here. Within the csv.file function, there are a couple of new arguments. If you do not specify a delimiter, the CSV package will try to figure out which delimiter to use. Since our data contains many different formats in a single column, the CSV package is likely to pick one of the date delimiters to split the data into multiple columns. Including a random character that is not included in the dataset, like the hashtag character, will ensure that the CSV package will load a single column. Regarding the types argument, if you do not specify a type, the CSV package will try to figure out the data type. The CSV package does have an option that allows you to select a date type and format, but since our data contains multiple formats, let's load all of it as a string. Next, as a good practice, let's add index numbers to our data frame. Maximize the REPL and view your data frame. As you can see, it's just a list of the same date in multiple formats. In order to parse these different formats into a date time type, we will use the date constructor. But since these are all in different formats, we will need to set up instructions to let Julia know how to parse this data. Start by getting a list of all the dates. Using your mouse, select all of the dates and hit Ctrl-C to copy the dates. Minimize the REPL and go back to the editor. Click in the editor and hit Ctrl-V to paste the dates. The documentation includes a list of format character codes that you can use to let Julia know how the dates are formatted and which delimiters to use. As you might expect, Y, M, and D stand for year, month, and day. For some reason, the uppercase U stands for the full name of the month, while the lowercase u stands for the abbreviated name of the month. Simply go through the data and replace the year, month, and day accordingly, while keeping the delimiters. Include all of these formats in a vector called formats_dates. Don't forget to add a comma after each format. Next, we broadcast the date constructor to each date format pair and save it to a new column in our data frame. Maximize the REPL and view your updated data frame. As you can see, all of the dates have been parsed into a new data type called date. But what happened to the bottom few rows? These are the dates that I listed using 2 digits for the year. Rather than parsing them into the year 2021, Julia parsed them into the year 21, as in ancient times, year 21. In order to fix this, we need to go back to the editor and add 2000 years to these rows. Maximize the REPL again and view your updated data frame. They should all look the same now. Of course, when you do this, you won't have to deal with this many different date formats. Your dataset will most likely have one format to parse, but this .jl file can serve as a handy reference if you ever need it. Now, let's go back to the editor and take a look at some useful query functions provided with the Dates module. Having access to this information will allow you to group your dataset by year, month, or day. This will give you the full name of the month. This will give you the abbreviated name of the month. This will give you the full name of the day of the week. This will give you the abbreviated name of the day of the week. Finally, here's a reminder that under ISO 8601, the first day of the week is Monday. That does it for the date time type. I'm going to skip the date time type since I don't really see it in datasets. Instead, I will cover the time type next. As I did with dates, I have prepared a CSV file containing various formats for times that are commonly in use. You can download the files from my GitHub repository. Go back to github.com and click on the back arrow to get back to the Files folder. Click on the times.csv file. Right-click on the Raw button. From the menu, select Save Link As. Save the CSV file to your tutorial 02x12 folder. In VS Code, open the Explorer panel and click on the CSV file. As you can see, it's just a list of various formats for time, both for day and for evening. Let's load this data into a data frame. Again, not because we need to, but in order to demonstrate how to parse various time formats when using data frames. Again, as a good practice, let's add index numbers to our data frame. Maximize the REPL and view your data frame. As you can see, it's just a list of times in different formats. In order to parse these different formats into a time type, we will use the time constructor. Like we did with dates, we will need to set up instructions to let Julia know how to parse this data. Start by getting a list of all the times. Using your mouse, select all of the times and hit Ctrl-C to copy the times. Minimize the REPL and go back to the editor. Click on the editor and hit Ctrl-V to paste the times. The documentation includes a list of format character codes that you can use to let Julia know how the times are formatted and which delimiters to use. Setting up the formatting for dates is very flexible, but with time, it is very strict. The uppercase H stands for hour using a 24-hour clock. Always use 2 uppercase H's. If you're using a 12-hour clock, then use the uppercase I. If there's 1 digit, use 1 uppercase I. If there are 2 digits, use 2 uppercase I's. I don't know why the letter I is being used here. The uppercase M stands for minute. Always use 2 uppercase M's and separate the hour from the minute with a colon. Finally, the lowercase p stands for either AM or PM. This is not case sensitive, so use the lowercase p regardless of whether or not the AM or PM is uppercase or lowercase. By the way, none of this information is in the documentation. I found this information on some online forum. As we did with dates, go through the times and replace the hour, minute, and AM/PM designation accordingly, while keeping the delimiters. Include all of these formats in a vector called formats_times. Don't forget to add a comma after each format. As we did with dates, we broadcast the time constructor to each time format pair and save it to a new column in our data frame. Maximize the REPL and view your updated data frame. As you can see, all of the times have been parsed into a new data type called time. While parsing time may be more restrictive than parsing the date, there aren't as many different time formats, so you're less likely to make adjustments afterwards. Now, let's go back to the editor and take a look at some useful query functions provided with the dates module for time. These queries identify the hour, minute, and second for the time type. This will allow you to perform calculations using hour, minute, and/or seconds. I think I'm going to end it here. Hit Ctrl+S to save your file. We've covered a lot of material over the past 12 tutorials, and as you can tell, we're running into the weeds here and running out of documentation. Let's take a few moments to reflect on how far we've come. Believe it or not, we're at the very end of this tutorial series. There is one more tutorial next week, but it's a final project, so there will not be any new concepts introduced next week. For those of you who started at tutorial number 1 and made it this far, congratulations! Let's take a look back, shall we? We started by installing VS Code and the Julia extension. We downloaded the Iris dataset and used Data Voyager to visualize it. We got an overview of analysis and then jumped right in by performing some business analysis. We learned how to use the JUMP package to solve optimization problems. We learned the fundamentals of statistics and learned how to analyze data by using the DataFrames package. We learned how to visualize our data by using a lot of different plotting packages, both for general purpose plotting and for statistical plotting. We also picked up some pretty advanced skills by learning how to generate choropleth maps, interactive plots, and animated plots. Along the way, we were introduced to some of the innovators and pioneers who are creating this amazing ecosystem. And it all ended here today with a discussion about date and time. In one of my earlier tutorials, I said that the most important skill that you can learn while watching this series is to learn how to tap into your primal human instinct of taking things apart to figure out how they work. I meant what I said. You don't need to take a class to learn how to analyze. You're born with this ability. It's part of being human. You just need to figure out what key unlocks that door in your brain. Once you're comfortable with your own analytic abilities, don't waste your time analyzing things that you're not passionate about. All of us have a limited time here on Earth. Take advantage of your analytic gift and spend some time discovering who you are. I mean, what's the point of having a fancy analytic toolkit if you can't use it to become a better person? Hey, thanks for watching. That's all for today. Next week, we're going to work on a final project to wrap things up. It'll be fun, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video and you feel like you learned something new, please give it a thumbs up. For more wholesome Julia tutorials, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. New tutorials are posted on Sundays/Mondays. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. Please feel free to share these videos, since these tutorials are getting rave reviews. Just listen to what the professional reviewers are saying.
I don't have a problem with it, to be honest. I actually enjoy it. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's actually pretty good.